And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hockey Night on Broad Flyers pregame show. Tonight, the Philadelphia Flyers play host to another game on this home game slate as they battle the Carolina Hurricanes, meeting up for the second time this season. Thanks again for joining me tonight. I'm your host, James Scorza, on a very cool, I guess you could say, kind of a mid 60s night in the Delaware Valley as the Flyers are playing against Carolina, like I mentioned. As for the Flyers tonight, they're trying to do whatever they can to get back into the win column. After two games, they looked good and also like scratched and clawed, but the difference was it was not the case on Monday night. So they're looking to try to get back on a winning skid here tonight against a very good Carolina team. As like we always do on this very important program, we always recap the previous game across the Delaware Valley. So the Flyers, basically, there was no score in the first period. After a scoreless first period, a lot of good opportunities for the Flyers, a lot of good opportunities for Colorado that played in Philadelphia on Monday night. But the scoring didn't last long as the Flyers looking to try to get off to a good response in the first, but the Colorado goaltender had other problems along the way. So he switched into the second period as that's when the scoring came into and about after a scoreless first period. And around the halfway point of the second period, as the Avs would try to get on the board, and they would do so with Cale Makar, who's been, I don't know much about. He was on a tear, and he was basically was on a tear that night on Monday night, giving Colorado an early 1-0 lead in the early or not in the as I can mention at the midway point of the first period. To still at the second period, and 2 minutes later, as the Flyers were trying to chase around and try to get a response, but the Colorado goaltender was doing a lot more different things than that. But the Flyers were chasing on the other side of the coin after a goal by Cale Makar to give the Colorado Avalanche an early scoring of the lead. They would do so again as Cale Makar will score again against Alexei Kolosov, making it 2-0 in favor of the Avalanche. To the third period we go as the Colorado Avalanche had a 2-0 lead in the third period, and they will make sure that it was going to be a third one in the third, and a perfect pass by Mikko Rantanen set up beautifully by Casey Middlestep, beating Alexei Kolosov to make it a 3-0 Avs lead, and that's where the scoring was for Colorado. So right after that, the Avalanche didn't score after that, but that's when the Flyers came back after not getting one goal in the first period and not getting one goal in the second period. They finally broke a response after a draw was won by the Flyers. Owen Tippett on a sweep display by Travis Konecny and Travis Sanheim, the two Travises connecting once again. And putting it on the board for the Flyers is Owen Tippett, who got his first goal of the year, as the Flyers made it a 3-1 Colorado lead. But that's not all that the Flyers did. No, it was not. And 2 minutes later, after a loose puck that Justus Annunen lost track of the puck and fired it, was Tyson Foerster to cut the Avalanche lead in half to make it a 3-2 game. But like always, the Flyers will try to do whatever they can to try to tie the game. And sadly, wasn't the case once again as the Flyers will lose in an effort, but a very good effort by the Orange and Black on Monday in regulation 3-2, the final on Monday night in South Philly. As we set the stage for tonight's game, as the Flyers, like we always do for the Orange and Black, like the biggest key that always been for the Flyers going back to the early parts of the season is that the concerning part about regulation wins was the biggest key. But between me and you, I think that was probably the one thing that was really a positive to take out of it, that the Flyers have looked very, very well at times. They have looked very well, that they're not like getting blown out like another team that's in town that's playing at the same arena as in action tonight. And I'm not going to go there because this is a Flyer spot, but the effort is there. The one thing I'm really glad to see is that the effort is there. I'm really glad that the Flyers are playing with a lot more gas. They're playing with a lot more poise and potential. And the one thing I'm very, very intrigued about more than anything is just that even though if they are down a few goals, it's never over with this club. That this team scratches and claws and also plays with a lot more observation, a lot more poise and potential, and a lot of positivity as well. the one thing I'm very, very impressed about is that sure they try to cut the lead in half to make try to make the scoring cut the deficit to one or two, but they always find a way to make sure that if the game is over, the game is not over until that final buzzer hits, either if it's in overtime or if it's in regulation, and they always fight to the bitter end. I got to say right now, this might be one of the funnest Flyers teams I've watched. Going back to last year when it started, when the Flyers got a lot of basically they were finding ways to get involved in John Tortorella's system, and basically the same thing that's happening this year. So for my key matchups tonight, I wish the same here tonight for Carolina. For Carolina, it's one of those teams that could be a Stanley Cup contender. They could be an Eastern Conference contender after it's all said and done. So, they got a lot of great players on that team, like I mentioned before, with Marty Necas and also with Sebastian Aho, and even probably a couple players that were a part of that AHL affiliate that won a Calder Cup with the Chicago Wolves a few years back. So there's a couple players that are on that team that are very good. I mean, there's a lot of the team is really good. I mean, they're probably one of the top teams in that Metro, right beside even like a Washington, maybe New York Rangers, or even like a team that would surprise you. So I'm saying what I mean by is they're right there. I mean, the Flyers are right there. They have a lot excitement going along the way tonight. So Carolina is going to be a big challenge, but if they can battle against very good teams like I mentioned with Tampa Bay a few weeks back, or even like a Carolina, like a couple weeks during that road trip, but they lost obviously in regulation due to a goal by Marty Necas. But I think that's going to be the biggest key tonight for this matchup is that try to get off to a good start and also try to control the clock and also try to get some 2 points out of it against Carolina. But like I said, they're going to be a real tall task when the time calls for playoffs to begin, and when crunch time hits, they're going to be once again one of those best teams in the NHL, and that's what I am really going to be happy to see. If the Flyers are there and they take on Carolina, I think it might be a good first round matchup between these two clubs because they're very evenly matched, to say the least. All right, let's go to who's trending up and who's trending down on this very important night. For who's trending up, well, maybe this is probably the night that Owen Tippett finally trends up in the NHL. Getting so many opportunities on Monday night was really great by Owen Tippett to get off to a great start. For me, I think it's the biggest key I take out of it is that I'm very intrigued about what Owen Tippett has done in the NHL, and I'm very, very ecstatic about is that what I really want to see tonight is that more opportunities on net, more and more opportunities on pucks on net, and also more and more shots on goal, and also more observation about who's going to be in goal tonight for the Flyers. I try to think about who's going to be in. I would be sure it's going to be Ivan Fedotov in goal tonight for the Flyers, but I would be sure if it is. I mean, I'm just doing what I can to see who's trending up and who's trending down. But for who's trending up for Carolina, like I mentioned, the scoring has really been on a tear. And mind you, there's another former Flyer who's been a real good power play machine for them, and one by the name of Ghost Bear, a.k.a. Shane Gostisbehere. So keep a close eye out for him tonight to make some noise against his former club, because between me and you, I wish he still would have been here, because I think he's probably one of those guys that I wish that the Flyers would have not let go and help him develop, because he's a power play force. And I mean, I'm saying the Flyers are great with the power play right now, but can you imagine if Gostisbehere was still here? I think the power play will be even more better than they are right now. All right, for who's trending down for the Flyers, well, it's been the elephant in the room for the last few weeks, and I've been saying about this for a while, but it's the regulation, trying to get wins in regulation. I mean, sure, you try to scratch and claw to get a couple wins out of it, to try to do whatever you can to make sure that the Flyers will get a good opportunity to score goals in late and also try to get a good response. But with Carolina, I mean, you never know, because Carolina actually, we tied the game against Carolina last time we faced off against them. And it looked to me it was going into overtime until a late goal that just sneaked by Alexei Kolosov that gave Carolina the win, and that's how it happened. So for me, who's trending down tonight, I think it's going to be more of the same. If you give up goals to Carolina, it's going to come back and bite you. And like I said, they're one of the best teams in the Metro, and that's not just true. It's an actual fact. They are a really really good team, and tonight they take on a very good Flyers team, and hopefully tonight we get some regulation wins to try to get off to a better start than they did all of last season and all of probably this season because it's only the second time they meet for the second time this season. So let's get into our injuries and scratches. As for the Flyers, kind of the same tonight for the Orange and Black for the injuries and scratches. Emil Andre out tonight again, once again for a mid-body injury. Cam York is also still on IR. Still has an upper body. Sam Ersson on IR as well, along with Jamie Drysdale, who has an upper body. I expect them to be back very, very soon. I hopefully will be back before when the time calls for when crunch time hits. And who's the scratches tonight for the Flyers are Nick Delorier and Morgan Frost are reportedly out tonight due to healthy scratches tonight for the Flyers, as we always check out here on the Flyers. In goal tonight, I would be sure. Let me double check right before we go any further to see who's in goal tonight for the Flyers. Let's see. Starting goaltenders. Give me a sec, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. And if you guys want to comment on the show, by all means, I mean, I'm here. So if you guys want to chit chat and also talk about the Flyers and everything like that, okay. So basically the same for the Flyers. The last couple games, it's a home. If it's either a home and home or a back to back, it would be. So for the Flyers tonight, like I mentioned, it's Ivan Fedotov once again for the Orange and Black tonight, who is 3-3 on the season with a 3.63 goals against average, and he is opposed by Pyotr Kochekov. And I said that one time without saying it. That's how you know I could say it without. Some of these names are really hard to say, but if you practice them a lot, it becomes second nature. Like that goaltender a couple nights ago, it was Justus Annunen in goal for the Colorado Avalanche. But like I said, for Carolina tonight, it will be Pyotr Kochekov, who's 9-2 this season with a 2.41 goals against average, and Ivan Fedotov in goal tonight for the good guys. So for basically the last thing I'll say about this for the Flyers here tonight, if they can get off to what could be a very fast start against Carolina, they've been doing that the last couple games, and it's been pretty amazing to say because like they usually get a couple goals here and there. I mean, it's not like they can't hold on to the lead, but you want to just jump on them really early. So that could be the same here tonight, and basically want to give Ivan Fedotov a little bit of a breathing room against Carolina and also put some pucks on net. I mean, I barely see Kochekov give up a lot of good opportunities, but if you can get on him, can get some good goals, a couple goals early, then that will be a lot of easier said than done for the Orange and Black. In my predictions, well, this is not going to be one game I wish to say that the Flyers will win, like my homerism is, but I got to go with Carolina. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm being rude, but Carolina's a tough team. They're really a really tough team. They got a lot of high observations. I mean, obviously, you got Rod Brendamore, who's been a fantastic coach for them. Not saying John Tortorella is not a great coach. He's been great all season. But it's Carolina. I mean, one of the things that Carolina does is that they try to beat your best, and tonight will be a tough challenge for them. So Carolina is a very, very good team. I expect the same here tonight. And for everybody and if you want to just chime in and just say, let's go Flyers, that by all means. But I got to be a realist here tonight. I think Carolina is just a better team. So yeah, I got to go with Carolina winning this game tonight. If they go past regulation, also go past or go overtime or shootout, maybe the Flyers will have an opportunity. But Carolina is a very, very testy team, and that's going to be a tall test tonight for the guys over in Orange and Black. All right, guys, that's a wrap for me here tonight. Thanks again for joining me here on Hockey Night on Board Flyers pregame show. Remember, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all over the place. So if you want to check out all of Hardcore Sports Network all season long, you can check me out as always. And just a couple weeks from now, a new show coming on to the rise of our very own program here. And until then, thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Try to do whatever I can to get this done before puck drop. Until then, I'm James Scorza here. Thanks a lot for joining me tonight. Until then, we'll catch you next time.